A game changer for the theme park industry in America. Disney and Universal go head-to-head with major announcements. Meanwhile, rumors that Anheuser-Busch is selling its SeaWorld and Busch Garden properties. Mix Shamu, Dumbo with a dash of Harry Potter, and it's time for Money Talks America. Yeah. Hi, I'm Snaith, Director of the Institute for Economic Competitiveness in the College of Business Administration at the University of Central Florida, and your host for Money Talks America. The theme park industry is built on fantasy, but the reality is it's a serious business. There are more than 400 amusement parks and traditional attractions in the United States alone. Together, they generate over $12 billion in revenues from more than 340 million visitors. The Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World in Florida is the most visited amusement park in the world. But we begin with Busch Entertainment Group, which owns SeaWorld and Busch Gardens. Published reports say the Blackstone Group is buying at least half of the entertainment division, which includes 10 theme parks. Blackstone also owns Merlin Entertainment Group, which owns Legoland theme parks and Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. Blackstone, a private equity firm, already owns a large portion of Universal Studios. The Magic Kingdom is getting a major facelift, which we'll tell you more about in a minute. But first, Harry Potter's world has been revealed at last. The boy wizard will become part of Universal Studios family at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Our Jenny Dunn has details of the park and its construction schedule.
That's right, Sean. Get your spells and wands ready. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter is scheduled to open here at Universal Studios Orlando in the spring of 2010. That's not far off now. This theme park within a theme park is estimated to cost over $200 million.
Universal have given me the great honor in revealing to the world that the Wizarding World of Harry Potter will be opening its gates spring 2010.
The Wizarding World of Harry Potter promises to give visitors an experience of walking in the young wizard's shoes as Hogwarts Castle and more come to life. The thrills start as soon as guests step foot into the Wizard's Village, known as Hogsmeade, first made famous in J.K. Rowling's books.
I would come out of films when I was younger and absolutely just wish that world could be real and that I could be a part of it. And so it's amazing that people will get to do that, you know, that's fantastic, and it's fantastic people actually get to kind of realise everything they've seen on screen.
Located within Universal's Islands of Adventure, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter will span more than 20 acres, complete with restaurants, interactive shops, and of course incredible attractions, all aimed at completely immersing guests in the scenes they know so well from the Harry Potter films and books.
By working with Stuart Craig and Alan Gilmore and the rest of the Warner Brothers team, we're creating an environment where guests will be able to do unbelievable adventures. Harry's journeys will become their own.
Now we're taking what was created for the books and films and transforming it into a real place where people can touch, taste, and experience Harry's world. It's been great to be part of making it all come alive.
That includes making a stop at Ollivander's Wand Shop, where, in a magically interactive experience, guests will look for their very own wands. Or should I say, their wands will pick them, just like Harry in the movie.
So it's just going to be just like sort of walking into the films really and just sort of really experiencing it. So I think sort of all the fans and that are just gonna love it, yeah.
For the thrill seekers, there's no shortage of twists and turns as they take on the Dragon Challenge, inspired by the Tri-Wizard tournament in the film. The challenge is not one, but two high-speed roller coasters. Then, at the edge of the Forbidden Forest, it's fun the whole family can enjoy as you take to the skies in the flight of the Hippogriff over Hogwarts.
I've never heard or seen anything like this before. I think it's going to be completely unprecedented, and it's just really going to be amazing.
Of course, a visit to Harry Potter's world would not be complete without Hogwarts Castle, which will appear to ascend several hundred feet into the air. As the marquee attraction in Potter's Park, Guests will enter through the iconic gates into Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Using new, state-of-the-art technology, fans of the films will find themselves literally experiencing their favorite scenes and stepping inside those famous rooms.
Kids all the time come to the set and they're obviously eyes wide open and they're absolutely amazed. And that isn't a fraction of what you guys have created here. So as a fan myself, I'm blown away. I can't imagine what people who have never seen anything to do with Harry Potter are going to be like. It's going to blow some serious minds.
Now, when Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is released on DVD this winter, you can get a sneak peek into the wizarding world of Harry Potter. That's because on the DVD, you will find 11 minutes of exclusive video all about the development and construction of this amazing project. For Money Talks America, I'm Jenny Dunn. Sean, let's send it back to you.
Thanks, Jenny. The Wizarding World becomes the sixth part of the Islands of Adventure Park that includes Seuss Landing, Jurassic Park, Toon Lagoon, Marvel Superhero Island, and the Lost Continent. Now, on to Disney. That much-rumored expansion of Fantasyland at Walt Disney World in Florida is indeed happening. Slated for 2013, Fantasyland will expand into parts of the Magic Kingdom currently used for Mickey's Toontown Fair, and will also use dormant land left over from the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction. The expansion will be princess-heavy, as most of the new attractions will feature the likes of Ariel, Belle, and Snow White. But if princesses aren't your thing, there will now be a circus tent where the classic Dumbo attraction will be moved to and doubled in size. Also, after years of endless rumors and waiting, Star Tours will be updated at both Disneyland and Disney World, set to debut in 2011. The new Star Tours will feature scenes from George Lucas's prequel trilogy and will be in 3D. It's not just the big three dealing with change. Attractions big and small across the country are dealing with the economic downturn and looking for ways to bring visitors to their venues. We wanted to ask an expert about how the industry is doing and what we can expect in the coming months. So we turned to Bob Masterson. Bob is the former chairman of the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, also known as IAPA. Bob, thanks for joining us. First, give us an overview of how the attractions industry is faring right now.
Well, the theme parks are struggling like everybody else is struggling. I mean, when we talk about struggling, it's not the magnitude that something like the auto industry would struggle or something like that. But when times are tough, people really watch their money and they put off vacations they would have otherwise taken. But they're doing better than a lot of other industries.
Better than other industries, but are there green shoots? Are you beginning to see any recovery?
When people measure their business against last year, which many businesses do, most are seeing an uptick. But when they measure it against 2 years ago, they're down. And I always counsel people to not go against last year when we were in a nosedive at this time of the year, but look at 2 years back. Now things are getting better, and you have to get to this point before you can get back to where you were 2 years ago. So it's better than it was last year, but it's still not back to where it needs to be.
Bob, you've been in this industry for a long time. How does this compare to downturns in the past?
This industry went through this in the 1970s when we had the gas rationing and people unable to drive. So many people drive to destinations where our parks and attractions are located. So anything that restricts the flow of gas will stop the customer from coming. Not much else has really affected the business the way it's been affected this time. Of course, 9/11 and some things like that slowed the business for a while. But really, this has been a longer-term downturn. But as I said prior, things are coming back and will come back.
You say it's coming back, but in what form? Can you tell me what the industry looks like today and how it's changed over the years?
The industry today, Sean, is a lot different than it was when I came into the business. When I came into the business, you had one really big player, and that was Disney. You had regional theme parks, or amusement parks as they were back then, and you had some small attractions, not too many. Ripley's, believe it or not, was one of the very few small attractions out there. Today, there are dozens of small attractions, The consolidation in the theme park industry has changed that part of the business greatly, and there are businesses that are now attractions that were not attractions before. Legitimate museums are now incorporating some of the tricks that the theme parks have used for years into their places of business, into their exhibitions. So you have resorts with roller coasters, you have museums and aquariums with rides. That's all changed from when I came into the business. So there's been a great convergence in the industry.
The big certainly have gotten bigger, but how would you compare the smaller, more local attractions like here at Fun Spot with the big three of Disney, Universal, and Busch Entertainment?
The big three theme parks, you know, I'm not an expert on theme parks. I'm an attractions guy. I grew up in the attractions industry, but I stay close to the big theme parks and what they're doing. If you come all the way to Orlando, let's take Orlando as an example, and you make that trip here, our customer comes from all over the world to Orlando. You're going to visit the big three parks. Now, will you spend as much time there as you spent had you come 5 years ago? I don't think so. I think the small attractions in places like this beautiful facility we're at right now, the Fun Spot in Orlando, benefit from that. They hurt as well in the tough times, but they also pick up business when people say, okay, instead of spending 4 days, I'm going to spend 3 at the big three.
Bob, what are you going to be watching in the future for this industry?
Orlando is going to have maybe its biggest change occur internally within the big three when Busch Entertainment Corporation, the ownership gets sorted out. Maybe they'll stay the way they are now. I don't believe there's any pressing need for InBev to dispose of a great asset which Busch Entertainment, SeaWorld, and the Busch Gardens and the historic properties represent, but it will occur, I believe, at some point. When that happens, I think the results of that could be the biggest effect or the biggest noticeable thing in the industry for some time. Not necessarily negatively, but the change will be interesting to watch.
Bob Masterson, former chairman of IAAPA, thanks for joining us on Money Talks America.
Sean, I've really appreciated the opportunity to talk to you today. I always enjoy talking about what I consider to be the greatest industry in the world. Every day I get up and I thank my lucky stars that this is the business I chose, and it's been very good to me and many other people because we bring fun. Thank you.
Thanks again, Bob. There are the parks and there are the performances. As an entertainment venue, millions of people worldwide have seen the Blue Man Group. Our Ed Highland had a chance to get underneath the blue grease paint and take a look at their business model.
Ed? Sean, the Blue Man character is a model unto himself. Childlike but inventive, honest to a fault. But the guys who give Blue Men life are artists working a dream job. They are stars of their own show. So, do they see a steady stream of wannabe Blue Men after their jobs?
We have several different shows throughout the U.S. and internationally as well as we have an upcoming tour that's upcoming in 2010. And so we usually don't have enough people to do all the projects that we have.
It is a physical job with constant hard work on stage and continuous training off. They admit they are well compensated.
One thing I learned from my parents was they do jobs and they like their jobs, but they never really loved their jobs. And especially in today's economy, people are trying to take whatever job they can, of course. But fortunately for us, that saying, follow your bliss, the Joseph Campbell, we kind of did that, and we're all fortunate to be doing that now.
Each Blue Man team has a captain. In Orlando, it's Anthony Perulli. He says there are basic requirements for becoming a Blue Man, and it takes a variety of skills.
Some people come from different avenues. You're a drummer that can act, or you're an actor that can drum. And basically being able to get in touch with the childlike wonder of the character, and being able to get in touch with the shamanistic side of the character, this sort of community bonding, being able to connect with people on a night-to-night basis.
If you have the right blue stuff, then it's off to a sort of blue boot camp.
When you're hired through the audition process, which takes a while in itself, usually the audition process can take anywhere from like a month up to 6 months, depending on how many callbacks you go through in the process. But then once you're hired, you go through training, which is you spend, it's almost like a school. You'll spend 5-6 days a week working with guys, performer directors or captains like Anthony, who train you on the show to teach you what it is to be a blue man, what a blue man is.
You talk about being artistically satisfying. Is it, and realizing the limitations of your answer here, but is it financially satisfying? I mean, is this a good paying job?
Yeah, I mean, I'm able to, you know, I have 2 kids at home and a wife, and I'm able to make a good living, and I really enjoy what I do, you know, and I think we would all say the, you know, same thing. If you can get paid to do something that you enjoy doing, then I think that's what it's about.
Unlike Disney or Universal, Blue Man Group is not a giant entertainment company. Anthony and Richard are both Disney vets and say size makes an artistic difference.
For this company, I think they still have that nature, that idea that what we do is why people come and see our show.
And Sean, the Blue Men are coming to the big screen. A comedy with the trio is in pre-production. The original Blue Men, Chris Wink, Phil Stanton, and Matt Goldman will be starring. Production is scheduled for the first quarter of next year for release in early 2011.
I look forward to seeing it, Ed. I'll be right back with my final thought in just a moment. Welcome back to Money Talks America. I'm Sean Snaith. The theme park industry has been taken on a wild ride that it usually reserves for its visitors. That ride comes courtesy of the worst recession since the Great Depression. Unemployment is approaching double digits nationally and likely to break that 10% mark by the beginning of 2010. Consumers are still faced with trillions of dollars of lost wealth in the form of home equity that evaporated when the housing bubble burst, in the form of retirement accounts that have dwindled in the face of a precipitous decline in the stock market. Like tourism and leisure in general, theme parks are going to have a tough ride over the next couple years. Consumers are going to have their belts tightened. They're going to have to save in order to build up those nest eggs. Expenditures like a night at a theme park or a vacation to Disney World are low-hanging fruits for a household that's trying to trim its budgets. To put it succinctly, the economy is going to make the theme park industry more like a ride in a haunted house than a trip through the fun house. We'll see you next time on Money Talks America.
Photographer smile, take a break for a while, take a rest, do your very best, take 500, 500, searching your